couple of weeks ago, I went to a vision board workshop. Now, I really didn't know what I was signing up for. I just thought, what a beautiful way to start the year with casting a beautiful vision for what I expected or wanted out of 2020. And I thought I would share a bit of the experience with you and a few tips that I picked up along the way. So I took a little bit of footage on the day, but not very much. So I'm going to talk through what we did and show you a few clips.
So I'm today heading into Boom Gallery to do a vision board workshop with a couple of lovely ladies. Boom Gallery is just here, and yeah, I'm really excited to meet some beautiful women. I assume women. I don't know why I assume that. Really excited to meet some amazing people, and yeah, get into imagining, visioning, and manifesting what I want for 2020. So I'm going to take you along.
Okay. So it turns out I had the wrong location, and what had happened was that Tessa and Jules had decided or opened up their workshop at a discounted price to raise money for people affected by the bushfires. And because of that, they sold so many more tickets that they actually had to change the location to a bigger venue. So I started at Boom Gallery, which is where it had been originally, that had been the original venue, and then I re-looked at the email and it turns out it was at the KO, which is what I think it's called, which I was calling the KO for a while, but the KO. So I arrived feeling completely overwhelmed. There was 24 people attending, women attending to this workshop, and I didn't know anyone else going. And I got in there and it was beautifully set up with a beautiful platter of food to share, but it was loud and overwhelming, and there was a lot of people who had come together and knew each other, and so I found a little spot in the middle of the table, and all down this big row of the tables were Frankie magazines, which I love and have beautiful images and are generally inspiring anyway. So we sat down and started to have a look at the magazine and make some conversation with the people next to me and that sort of thing. Got up and made myself a cup of tea, and then we got started, and Tessa shared her story about how she came. Tessa and Jules, I suppose, both shared their stories, but Tessa shared her story about why the bushfires were so impactful on her life. Her family had been affected, and why they decided, there's any number of reasons why people might decide to share or donate their money to this cause, but hers was particularly close to home. And then we sat through a beautiful meditation with Jules. It was just a beautiful way of starting, and I think if you're going to do this meditation I think if you're going to do this vision board practice at home, it's a beautiful way of starting, is to really take a few minutes to take a few deep breaths and really set an intention for what you're going to do with that time. Make yourself a beautiful ceremonial cacao and really center into yourself to make this vision board. And while we were doing the meditation, I didn't know why I was there. I didn't have any kind of preconceived notion of what I was going to be creating. And I suppose that's incorrect. I sort of did. I thought I would go in there with a grand plan of essentially my doTERRA business and how it was going to look this year and what I was going to do and who I was going to call in and that sort of thing. And it turned out that is not what I finished with. I ended up finishing with a beautiful board that was much more around self-care and our home and our community, and those are the things that naturally came out of me as I was looking through the magazine. So after we had that beautiful meditation with Jules, we all got stuck in, and it was kind of much different to what I anticipated. The few women that I was sitting around we all really kind of got into our own heads and our own spaces, and we were flicking through these magazines and not talking and not having conversation, but all around us there was this lively, vibrant conversation happening, which was wonderful to be surrounded by. But for me, it was really important that I wasn't part of that, because I couldn't have created what I need to create if I was conversing with other people the whole time, because what I really needed was to really focus on what I was doing. What I did was I just went through the magazines, and as I saw something that struck a chord with me, I ripped pages out, and then once I'd kind of done that, I cut out the bits that I was drawn to, and then I started to place them on my A3 card. And then once I'd done that and I needed to fill any spaces, then I went back through magazines and I found more. It was a really lovely experience for the start of the year. And then what we did was we were there for 3 hours, or was it 4 hours? It was quite a long workshop, which to me, initially I was super frustrated. I couldn't find anything that I thought I was looking for. There was nothing related to that resonated with me that was relating to my business and what I was calling in, and it was loud and busy, and I didn't think I needed to be there, and I wasn't getting any help, and I went outside and I sat on the stairs for a few minutes and I took a few deep breaths. I took a minute and I went back inside and I just sat there and I started flicking through, and I didn't even know what I was pulling out. I just was tearing out anything that resonated with me, and as I started cutting them and I started gluing them on the page, I realized what was happening, what I was creating. And for me, it ended up being a board that resonated with where I was at and how I wanted my life to look and how I wanted to create the things I wanted to share. And like I said earlier, it was much more related to joy and playing and strengthening and growing and community, and I really saw that jump out at the page. And at the end of the few hours that we were there, we got Tessa gave us a 10-minute warning maybe, and all of a sudden we were scrambling to get these things finished. And then we went around the room and all spoke about our boards. And I'm not going to show you mine today, and I'm not going to show you any of that. I didn't record that because to me that part of the workshop was so personal for every woman who was there. And my vision board is for me, not for anyone else. And I love it. I've got it on my desk, and I'm going to create another one. And it turns out I've done vision boards in the past, and I've done these sorts of things. And I used to do journaling, and I'll try and remember who it was. Sophie Isobel Asher, I'm pretty sure, but gosh, if I can remember, and I'll link it in the comments below. Her journaling is beautiful and always uses a lot of cutting and pasting, and I did that for a really long time, and then I stopped and I loved it. And it turns out that I've made vision boards before. I just didn't know necessarily if I was doing the right thing or that was even it. So I suppose the few tips that I took away from this workshop was really get into that moment. So take a few deep breaths, do a meditation if that's your thing, or if you have time. Really ground yourself in the moment. Put some cool funky music on or keep it silent, that's up to you, but really give yourself the time to bask in the creativity that comes out of this form of childish joy, the cutting and pasting which we used to do in kindergarten. I think you also need to not put expectations on it, which I had done. So flick through those magazines, ripping out pages left, right and center, and Take your time to cut them out at the end, find those pictures that really resonated with you. Glue them onto your board or page, I think you could just use a piece of recycled cardboard box. And there's no rules. You could do it however you want. It's totally up to you. So yeah, please, if you enjoyed this video, subscribe. I release a video every Monday, and give me a thumbs up. That would be really great. Thanks so much, and I hope you enjoyed this video. And if you make a vision board, please let me know in the comments below.